What is up, guys? It's Andy Frisella, and this is the show for the realists. Say goodbye to the lies, the fakeness, and delusions of modern society. And welcome to Motherfucking Reality, guys. Today, we have Q&AF. This is where you get to submit the questions, and we will give you the answers. You could submit your questions one of two ways. The first way is...
Guys, as always, email those questions in to Ask Andy at andyfrisella.com.
The second way is if you didn't know, because a lot of you guys are behind in episodes, like months and even years behind, we are on YouTube now. So we have full-length episodes on YouTube. Most of our audience is still audio heavy, so we're building that up over there. But it's pretty cool. I think people are liking it, getting some good comments. I think it's fun. It's I don't know. See how it goes. But anyway, if you drop your comments underneath the episode, the Q&AF episodes, we will pull some from there as well. The questions is what I meant. Other times you tune in on the show, if this is your first time listening, we have multiple formats of the show. Today you get Q&AF, like I just said. Other times you're going to get CTI. That stands for Cruise the Internet. That's our social news / comedy / talk about the crazy shit that's going on in the world format of the show. And that's actually my favorite show to do. It's not your favorite to listen to, though, apparently. A lot of you guys like the Q&AFs. So you're going to have to deal with my opinions as well, fuckers. Sometimes you tune in and you get real talk. Real talk is 5 to 20 minutes of just some real talk, I think, that needs to be shared. And then other times you're going to get full length. Full length is like we had on our last episode where we have a buddy of mine come in. They're usually interesting, successful, have a unique world view, a story to tell. We have a conversation just like you see on most of the other podcasts. One thing you'll notice that we do differently is that we don't run ads on the show, okay? I don't take money from advertisers that want to pay me to take their shit because I don't do that. I represent and talk about the things that I think I like, and I don't want to flood your podcast with 40 minutes of fucking bullshit ads for some money. I already do pretty well. You guys do a great job of supporting us, and I appreciate that. So in that trade, all I ask is that if we do a good job, if we put out some good info, if it makes you laugh, it makes you think, if it answers your questions, you know, the Q&AF shows like today, they have an extreme amount of value in them. If we help you get better, please share the show. That's how we work. So when we say pay the fee, that's what we mean. Just share the show. With that being said, it's been a minute.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Has been a minute.
See, people, we pre-recorded all last week's shows. And then yesterday we had our full length with Jason. Yeah. But we haven't done any Q&AF in a while or CTI. I'm looking forward to getting back on CTI, dude.
Yeah, me too.
That's my favorite show to do.
Really?
Like, yeah, it's my favorite show to do because it's like, it's almost like therapy, you know, in front of the whole fucking world. We get to talk about this crazy shit. But, you know, Q&AF's good too.
Yeah, I mean, like there's a symbiotic relationship between the two episodes.
Absolutely. People have a hard time connecting.
Yeah.
Like some people. I think most people, you know.
People are getting it now,
yeah,
I think, but
they're not understanding, you know, like, guys, the reason that we must talk about what's going on in the world is because that affects the business environment. This is an entrepreneurship, personal development business show. It always has been since the MFCEO project back in 2015. And for those of you guys that don't know, we are relaunching that podcast very soon as its unique standalone podcast. So I'll have more news on that soon. But it's always been personal development. It's always been how to win, how to get better. But guys, that, you know, the thing with CTI is if we don't know what the fuck is going on in the world and we don't take action to protect our freedoms, you know, our ability to make money and have success and build things in real life is affected. So they do go together very, very synergistically. It's just, you know, sometimes you have to explain it to people.
Yeah, for sure, man. Yeah. But no, I mean, I don't feel like we really missed a beat last week, but there was definitely.
Oh, you guys didn't miss me?
No, I'm saying like the content was pumping out.
Oh yeah.
You know, we made it look pretty good, but you were hiatus.
Yeah, man. I was down in Mexico. I went to Cabo, stayed at the Pedregal Resort, which was amazing. I have nothing but amazing things to say about that. You definitely, you know, shouldn't go there because I don't want to be crowded next time I go.
Right.
But it was awesome. The people were awesome. The weather was great. It was about 70 degrees every day, but good sun. So much sun that I'm like shedding a whole entire skin because I got burnt so bad the first day. Deceptive. It was like nice and cool, but the sun was like powerful.
Yeah.
That Mexico
impressive.
sun. Yeah, it was impressive.
Yeah.
It was
I understand.
It had a lot of girth.
I get it.
Yeah, it was girthy. It was a girthy sun.
Girthy sun. Yep. One thing that was
Fuck
interesting.
The shit out of me too, bro.
You said what?
What? No. What?
No, one thing I thought that was cool though, because I mean, we talked quite a bit during the trip, and it was like, one of the things that I thought was cool was you mentioned how it didn't matter where you went on the resort, but it was like every member of the staff,
bro, was amazing.
Knew your name.
Yeah, it was amazing. It was so, I take a lot of pride in how we do business. You know what I'm saying? Like we're not, nobody's perfect. Nobody can run a perfect company. But here in my, with First Form, S2, the other companies, everything that we got going on here, we try really fucking hard, right? And we try to do a very good job for our customers. We try to go over the top. We're very, very much focused on that experience aspect of brand building, because the truth of it is like, I'm not that skilled. So I know that if we do good by the customer and we create amazing experiences, people will help us and they'll shop with us and support us. And so I'm very detail oriented. When I go around, I go to a restaurant or I go to anything, any place of business, wherever, I'm always an observer. I'm like paying attention to how they're doing things. And this resort, the Pedregal, is by all means a very, very, very nice resort, top notch. And I've been to other top notch resorts. Like I've been doing this for a minute, and I was just the level of service that place had, and the level of attention to detail was something that even somebody who's very, very, very used to paying attention to those things was impressed by. It was very impressive.
That's what got me.
Yeah, it was very impressive.
Yeah. Yeah. When you brought that up, I knew it had to be something fucking pretty special.
Yeah. It was like anywhere you went on the resort, they knew your name. And it didn't matter who it was. It didn't matter if it was the guy sweeping up the sidewalks, if it was your waiter, if it was the the busser, or any of the other jobs on this resort. It didn't matter. They knew who the fuck you were. And it wasn't just because it was me. Because like it wasn't just for me. Like it was for every single guest on the resort. And whoever's running that, like however they do it, they're doing a good job.
Yeah. Let me ask you this. Do you find yourself now, like at 24 years in, do you find yourself constantly like looking at these other industries or restaurants, wherever you go, and like finding these comparisons, like of what we could be doing better? Like how often do you, I guess, reflect on that?
Well,
because like I haven't, like, I mean, like
all
I said,
the time.
Yeah.
And it's cool because what you asked, I actually do look at the restaurant industry for a lot, the hospitality industry, right? Hotels, restaurants.
It's people.
Yeah, because like, dude, that's where you're going to see very strong examples of going above and beyond for people. And that's something that, I always try to pay special attention when I do, because I don't travel a lot. I like to do my own thing, man. I like to go to my house. I like to come here. I really don't fuck around with anybody. I kind of do my own thing. And it's not, because I don't enjoy being around people. It's just, that's my natural way of enjoying life. Is just, I like to be left the fuck alone. And I like to be around people too, but they got to be the right kind of people, right?
Like, cool.
Like I'm not one for bullshit conversation. I'm not one for small talk. I want to talk about real shit. I want to talk about shit that matters. And if I'm around those kind of people, bro, it's fucking amazing.
Yeah.
But unfortunately, half the people out there aren't that way. And so, I'm not saying I'm a hermit, but I don't travel that much. But when I do travel, I pay real close attention. And when I go to a restaurant, I pay real close attention. And it's not because I'm trying to critique them. I'm actually viewing it from a perspective of what can I learn? What can I do to get better? And, I think a lot of people, they go to these places and they look for holes. And
gotcha.
Yeah, right.
You're right there.
And like, dude, look, man, when you run a high level, high attention detail operation, whether it be a company or, like our companies or resorts or restaurants or whatever category, when you take pride and people know that you take pride and you're expected to hold a very high standard, there's going to be people that want to fucking poke and look for the negative, right? And I think, that's okay, because I think it helps you get better, right? Like when I'm actually very grateful when people point a problem out to me so that I can correct that problem. But I think we as consumers, as entrepreneurs, we're do ourselves a much better service by actually going to these places instead of like looking for the things wrong, looking for the things they're doing right and understanding like, dude, okay, like there's going to be little things and you can learn from the things they do wrong too. But like, because we live in this society that is so focused on where people fuck up and like, I got you, right? Like everybody wants to get like motherfucker, like cool. Like if you're a true operator, you're going to look at those situations as an opportunity to get better.
That won't affect real operators. Yeah.
Like you're like, okay, fuck, you got me. Like, let me fucking fix that over here real quick. You know, and that's how you should be addressing it.
Yeah.
But I think because we live in this society that's like that, and you know, while I do think cancel culture is dying out, I don't think people are thinking it's very cool. I think people are realizing that it's not something to be a part of or contribute to no matter what side you're on. I think we have a propensity to look at the bad things when we go to places, and that keeps us from learning from where we can get better. So what I try to do, like the whole time I was down there, dude, I was watching these guys trying to figure out, okay, look, well, how could we translate this to our business where we could create a better experience for our people?
Yeah.
You know, and you know, I got a bunch of notes. I got like a whole bunch of notes. But like, it's very rare. And I mean this as a matter of fact. I'm not saying this to brag or anything, but I have very particular high standards. And I think my companies speak for themselves. Do we have hiccups sometimes? Sure. Do we have problems sometimes? Sure. But generally, we're doing things at a very high level. And when I can go to a place and be super fucking impressed, that gets me excited because I'm like, okay, there's another level to get to here.
Yeah.
And that doesn't happen. The more detail oriented that you become, the more seasoned you become, and the more you operate that way, the more rare those experiences are. Like, it's very difficult to wow me. It's very difficult to blow me away, right? Like, because that's what I'm always trying to figure out how to do better. But these guys did it, man, and it was cool.
Yeah.
And it was every single person, dude. There was not a single person that wasn't on point there. It was impressive, dude.
Yeah. How many like quickly, how many staff, how many people do you think would you say was employed there? Like, are we talking
a ton.
Like 1,000 maybe?
No, not that many. It's only 100-room resort.
Oh, it's small. Okay.
Yeah, it's a little place.
Yeah.
But I mean, fuck. It seemed like there was at least 3 people for every guest, like running the play.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? It was cool, dude. And like, you know, people are like, oh, I hope you got the like I got all these DMs. Like, hey, motherfuckers, I can't detach when you DM me the whole fucking vacation.
No shit.
You know what I'm saying? Oh, I hope you got to detach while I'm typing. Like, bro, I stopped posting halfway through the trip because like that's all it was. Oh, I hope you got some R&R. How about just like the motherfucking picture, bro, and let me have a minute? Because like I try to be responsive and respectful to people, but like I'm just being real. Like people aren't aware. Like if I post a picture, like it doesn't mean I'm going through some sort of fucking life crisis, bro. I actually just like photography,
right?
And I used to be pretty good at it back in the day. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah,
they're like, oh, you're posting these beautiful pictures. It seems like something deep's going. Motherfucker, I'm taking pictures.
You on your journey?
Yeah. Like, dude, what the fuck? Like, why does everything got to mean something?
Yeah.
Like, everybody's got to attach this meaning to some shit. Like, does it surprise you that that I have an artistic eye?
Right.
Like, have you paid attention to the content that my companies have put out for the last fucking 2 decades? Like, we do things pretty decent.
Yeah.
I don't know what to tell you, man. Like, I'm multidimensional. I can take some pictures. I can appreciate art.
Yeah.
You know, I even speak a little bit of different languages sometimes. Like, I'm not this fucking redneck from Missouri that y'all motherfuckers think I am. Like, I actually got a little bit of culture.
That's really what it is.
I know it is. It's racism. It's racism.
That's what it is.
Against Missouri.
Yeah. And all of our cousins.
Yeah. Fuck, dude. Like, it's just, dude, it's just weird.
Yeah.
Like, motherfucker, I'm just trying to share some cool pictures with y'all. And you got to make it about some life journey.
You asking about ayahuasca.
Yeah. Like, I'm just like, I don't know, man. I'm just taking some pictures.
Yeah.
But it was cool. Like, it was a good time. I put on fucking 8 pounds when I was there.
Yeah, that's pretty good.
Yeah. But I think that's mainly because I drank.
Mm-hmm.
I didn't get like drunk or anything. Like, I just drank a few beers every day. But my body's so not used to it that I think I was just retaining water. Because I was down like after one day of 75 hard, like four of the 8 pounds.
Yeah.
So
yeah, I must say, well, that's the other thing too. So it's day 2. This will probably be day 3 when you guys are listening, but 75 hard's going good. And we're right back into it, man. So it feels good.
Dude, I'm excited about this round of 75 hard because I was really doing well in the last one when I got knocked off at day 51, I think it was. I was kicking ass, bro. And it was very, very, very difficult for me to get as sick as I got. And like, I don't think people realize that I was sick for over a month. Like, it wasn't like I was sick for a couple of days. I actually had an infection that took an entire month for me to get out of my body. So it wasn't like a little deal. And that fucked me up mentally, dude. I'm just being real. Like, it fucking hammered me because like I finally felt like, all right, I'm going to get past the shoulder injury. I'm going to get back to where I was. I'm going to be better than I was whenever I got hurt. And I could like fucking see it. And then I got hammered with that thing.
Yeah.
So like, it was frustrating. So I'm excited to get back to it. I'm going to give it everything I fucking got for the next 75 days and probably do phase 1 right afterwards. But I really think after this 75 days, as long as I don't get fucking sick or some shit like that again, or something unforeseen happen. I mean, cause like there was nothing I could do, bro. It wasn't like I could like tough that out.
Right.
I mean, I had fucking my doctors at my house for 3 fucking days straight. I mean, I was sick as fuck. And, that's probably why, I probably pushed a little too hard because I, was so determined on getting through it. But the reality is like, I'm going to give it everything I fucking got. If you guys want to join me, you can check out episode 208 and it'll give you the whole rundown on 75 hard and live hard program and how it works. We're only on day 3. So like you should fucking jump in if it's something that you want to make this change. A lot of people have already gone through the cycle of New Year's not really working out for them and then falling off and kind of like they're in that limbo stage. And, like guys, you give it 75 days full effort, you're going to look, feel, and be a completely different person by the beginning of fucking May.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? So,
and guess what? May's coming regardless.
Yeah, that's right. So like, dude, I invite you guys to join with me. If you don't want to, that's cool too, but I'm going to be giving it everything I got.
So despite all the DMs, like, did you really get a time to decompress and all of that?
No, it was cool, bro. Like, it was nice to see some new scenery, it was weird. I think it's, it wasn't a long enough time for me to disconnect. I haven't been on a vacation since, Emily and I's honeymoon. So it was 10.5 years since the last vacation that I've been on that wasn't for work or speaking or something like that. Like,
right.
I traveled, but it's always been for some version of work.
Right.
But this was the first time I like wasn't getting paid to go somewhere. Right. And it was cool, dude. As far as disconnecting, I think I really truly think social media makes it hard to disconnect. I think next time I go on a trip, I don't think I'm going to fucking utilize social at all or post anything during the time because like, you do have a lot of friends in your DMs and shit that you talk to regularly. And, I found myself a couple times getting sucked in for a couple hours when I'd really honestly rather not be doing that.
Yeah.
And it's no fault of theirs. It's just the nature of how we do things now. But I got some time to hang out and like relax and, chill. And I think next time it's going to be longer and it's going to be less connection back to reality. And I do feel like, I don't know, I feel different now that I'm back. More normal, less anxiety, less stress, a little bit, not a lot bit, but a little bit. And like before I left, dude, like I was at a point, and this, like I wasn't even driving, like I wasn't doing the things that I enjoy to do. Like, and I don't have that many hobbies. Like one of my hobbies, and I'm not saying this to fucking brag, but I like high performance fucking cars. And driving is something that I enjoy. It's not something I do for status. And like today I drove one of my cars, which I hadn't driven a car. I haven't driven one of my cars since probably November or December because the weather's been shitty and all that.
Among other things.
Yeah. I may or may not have a valid driver's license right now, but we're going to get that taken care of. I didn't do anything wrong. I just
right.
Didn't get it renewed in time. So now I actually have to go take the test again. We talked about making that a YouTube video, but I don't know if they'd allow us to do that.
We still got time.
Yeah, it'd be funny. Hopefully I pass.
Well, I mean, that's the big question, but yeah.
Yeah. But no, it was good, man. It was good. It's, I learned a couple things, I learned that I have to do a better job of consciously trying to disconnect. I think my opinion of social media is getting worse and worse and worse, not better. My desire to want to post and interact on social is becoming less and less. But I also think that goes along with, like, I'm getting to a point in my life where I don't, and this is going to sound weird, but you should all relate to it. Like, I don't feel like I need to sell anybody on my life anymore. Like, I feel like my results speak for themselves. I don't have much to prove to anybody else. You guys kind of know what I'm about. You listen to the show, you see the show, we communicate on the show. There's more context on the show. I enjoy doing the show. You guys enjoy viewing it. But the overall drama of social and the amount of time that is, like I mentioned this a couple weeks ago, it's just something that I'm going to probably participate less in. You know what I mean? There's a whole lot of life out there, bro. And it's real shit. Like, it's real. There's like, that was one thing that was evident, because I was off social for most of the trip. You really notice how good people are in real life when you disconnect from social. You know, it's easy for us to look at social and be like, fuck, everybody's a piece of shit.
Everybody's angry.
Yeah, but dude, it's not that way. It's a small minority of people on the far left and the far right arguing. And then there's, you know, the cloud chasers who look to create drama and controversy so they can get attention because they have nothing else to offer, you know, and shit like that. So you live in this constant environment of like bullshit. And I think it's very clear when you disconnect for even a little bit, even if it's just like a day or two, that, and you go out in the real world, you're like, fuck, this, what we see on these screens represents very little reality to what actually goes on in real life.
I would argue none.
I mean, very, very little.
Yeah.
Like most of the shit that people argue about on social media, like, you can't even find in the real world. You don't see it. You know what I'm saying?
The people arguing, you don't see them.
Yeah.
I very rarely see them.
Dude, and people don't talk to each other like that in real life. No. Like, you don't like the world is much better in reality than it is on social media. And I think so many people have been so head down utilizing the benefits of social for business that you get sucked into it and it becomes like your whole life. Like, I see this a lot with like some influencers, right? Like, influencers want to like get the views so fucking bad. And at first it's because they want to make a living, right? But then what happens is it like sucks them in to where like this is their whole entire world, bro. And they're sitting there on their fucking couch or they're at their desk or wherever they're, you know, their bed or whatever. And the whole fucking life is passing them by. You know what I'm saying? And I think more and more people, and I talked about this for the last 3 years, I think more and more people are going to start disengaging with these types of social. And I think more and more people are going to value brick and mortar, real life business more. I think you're going to see, I already know brick and mortar growth is, for businesses doing it right, is going very well right now. And I think you're going to see a lot of companies transition back from an online, like, only type presence to, you know, doing business the kind of like what you would call the old way. I think you're going to see clothing companies go back to cataloging. I think you're going to see people not wanting to spend their time on social. And so companies are going to have to find, you know, creative ways, which are the old ways of getting their attention. Right. And so I think, you know, we're going to see a little of both. We're going to see some people dive more into it, but I think a lot of people at this point in time, you know, we're really into, I don't know, 13, 14 years of where most people were familiar with social, you know what I'm saying? And the early people that were there, I mean, they've been on it for a decade going hard. And I think a lot of people are becoming disenfranchised and disengaged with the whole concept of like living on this fucking screen. Yeah. And so I think what you're going to see in business, and I think it's going to come down to the companies that can adapt to real world scenarios again. And I also think there's an opportunity for advertising platforms in the real world as well to do really well again. People are rejecting the idea of the metaverse. You know, they're not, like I told you they would. They don't want to sit at home and live in a virtual world with some fucking goggles on. They're not going along with the 2030 agenda of you will own nothing and like it. We're not eating fucking crickets. Like, none of this shit's going to happen, dude. And because people are going to reject the fuck out of it. And that's why you're seeing, you know, a war being escalated, because I believe that in their hopes of the ruins of the war that they're working to create, they think they're going to take over, which ain't going to happen then either. So like,
No.
these motherfuckers are going to go down swinging. They're going to burn the fucking world up on the way out. And, you know,
I'm here for it.
yeah, well, had you listened whenever people said, hey, don't wear the fucking mask and not complied, we wouldn't be here right now. You know, all those people that stood up, this is for CTI, but like, I'm just being real. All those people that stood up and say, hey, this is bullshit, that lost their businesses, lost their contracts, lost their fucking following, got canceled, blah, 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 and got harassed for 3 fucking years, et cetera. Those people were right. And you motherfuckers that didn't believe them were wrong. And these people are now telling you they're going to destroy the fucking world to escape accountability for the crimes that they perpetrated on you. And now you don't believe it's again. You see what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Like, dude. And so like, that makes me think that it's going to happen either way. And I believe that the only chance for freedom that exists in our globe ever again, I don't know how this war thing is going to pan out, if someone's going to come in and save the day, but it sure doesn't fucking feel like it's going to happen.
Yeah.
And it sure does feel like this war is going to be escalated to mass fucking levels. Like I said, you know, a few years ago. And it sure does feel like, you know, what I think their plan is that at the end of that, whatever is left, they're going to claim and form the one world government that they've been trying to get through all these fucking other ways. Mm-hmm. And the very, very elite are going to try to have all control over fucking every human being on earth. And everybody else is not going to have shit. And that's their plan. And so the only chance that I see for freedom to fucking actually, you know, truly reestablish itself is at that key point when after that, when shit is fucked up, if everybody's ready to just, you know, like at the most vulnerable time, take it back and make it free again. But like, it's frustrating, dude. I don't know what's going to happen. It's going to be interesting.
Yeah.
So anyway.
Yeah. Well, let's talk about how we can get better to prepare for that.
Yeah. Well, I mean, that's the main point, guys, is like personal excellence is the ultimate rebellion. The better you are, the less of a customer you are for them, for all their shit. And, you know, all these business trends that we're talking about, you know, it's interesting how all of these things are counter to what most of the quote unquote experts are out there saying. But then when you look at what the experts are trying to tell people is actually happening, none of that data backs up that opinion. You know, like all the stocks of these tech companies is falling. The amount of people on social and the amount of people who are engaging in social it's becoming uncool.
Yeah.
Right. The trend is like it's almost starting to become uncool to spend like all your time on social media. Right. And so like you start to look at that and then you compare that with real world data of brick and mortar companies that are operating properly, providing a good experience, doing very well right now. I know because I own a few. Okay. And I know a bunch of people that own them as well. And you kind of put all that shit together, bro. And I feel like people want to go back to like being normal human beings and they are tired of the shit.
Yep.
So we'll see.
Yeah, we shall, because it's coming quick.
Yeah. So we'll see. I think I think what's actually happening here is that there's a balance being created, right? Like people, because this technology is so new, people have pushed so far over to one side and now people are starting to push back. And I think what we're going to find is that there's going to be a healthy balance where people are comfortable with a certain amount of technology in their life.
There is some regulation.
Yeah. And there's going to be some privacy regulations. That's good because that's going to have to happen to save these things.
Mm-hmm.
Like people are not going to continue.
It's the only way to be allowed.
Yeah. They're not going to like more and more people every day are starting to realize that these tools are used to spy on us on our whole fucking lives. These, you know, the things that Snowden was trying to tell us about how they're watching us through our computers and they can access us even when the power cord isn't connected and look in our cameras. That's all fucking true shit. And more people are starting to realize it. And that's accelerating the rejection of this technology. And I think a couple things are going to happen for technology to find that balance. But I think privacy is a huge part of it. Like there's going to have to be regulation. Like these motherfuckers should not have the right to listen to our conversations or to fucking hack into our computers. And I'm not talking about the media companies. I'm talking about the government.
Well, any company.
Anybody.
Yeah.
Like we should all have an individual sense of privacy and that should be protected by the strongest letter of the law. Because dude, right now, like when you become aware, one of the reasons people have so much anxiety is because they know that like you can't escape it.
Mm-hmm.
Right. And like, how many of us voted to live like this? How many of us want to live our lives like this? I don't see anybody fucking saying, oh, yeah, I wanted to live in a surveillance state.
Govern me harder, daddy.
That's what I'm saying.
Yeah,
and they inched us into this under the guise of, oh, well, it's a private company. You signed the terms and conditions. Well, that's because there's been no regulation whatsoever. And I think a good amount, I'm very much anti fucking big government, but I think some fucking regulations on our own privacy and our ability to have free speech on the technology that actually where all the conversations are happening is a reasonable fucking thing for anybody to agree that we all need.
Mm-hmm.
So anyway, let's do the questions because we're 30 minutes into bullshit here. You know what I'm saying?
Guys, let's get into this.
People ain't even get to the fucking questions.
Yeah, let's get to this, man. Andy, question number 1. Andy, I found myself to be someone who avoids conflict all the time. I hate arguing, going through any type of conflict at all, really. And when faced with a problem, I'd much rather just solve it on my own. And I've always looked at conflict as just this terrible thing to avoid. Question is, should I change this? And then what are the tips that you have to overcome this?
Well, look, like I said previously, before the question started, anytime we open social media, we're inundated with conflict of every kind. All right. We get shown the worst of the worst and the worst in society. And then the other part of the internet is a bunch of people trying to call people out and get clout for like fucking tearing other people down. So we're looking at conflict 24 hours a day. So you have to realize in the real world, conflict is a very minimal situation. It doesn't happen every day. It doesn't, and it doesn't happen over and over. But when we get on social, what happens is we get so fucking inundated with it, we just kind of like freeze up and we're like, fuck. And what you have to realize is that conflict is an opportunity for growth. It's an opportunity to improve. It's an opportunity to get better on both parties when there is a conflict. And as long as a conflict is addressed with a productive perspective, I think conflict can be a very good thing and a healthy thing, especially inside an organization. The best ideas don't come from things going great. The best ideas come from when things are fucked up and you find this crazy solution that is a great idea. So like, I don't think that I think you need to change your perspective on how you look at conflict, and you should start looking at it instead of taking it personal or if people don't like you, you should look at it as, okay, I'm taking the emotion out of it. I actually did an Androgram on this a couple of days ago, guys, about taking the emotion out of your decision-making. I take the emotion out of it and I look at the reality. Okay. Is this true? Yes or no? Okay. Yes, it's true. And that doesn't feel very good. What can I do to fix it? How can I be better? Right. And then I take whatever I learned from the conflict and I go be better. And that's what I've always done. Sometimes the person on the other side of the conflict is you guys are going to be able to work it out. Sometimes, people aren't in a place where they want to work things out. I found that most of the time when you're honest with people and you treat them with respect, there's an amicable compromise that can come where both people respect each other, feel heard, feel valued, and walk away better from conflict. Some of my best friends in the world are people I didn't even like in the beginning when I met them. Right. So like, we have to understand that conflict can have a lot of healthy outcomes, but it's up to you to make them healthy, because you won't always see eye to eye with other people. You're not always going to be able to get a handshake and a hug when this shit's over with. Most of the time, yeah, but sometimes no.
I wouldn't want to.
Well, that's you.
Yeah.
But a lot of people you're not a people pleaser in that way, bro.
Yeah.
Like you're a man who stands on his own values, and when right's right and wrong is wrong. And that's something that you're comfortable doing. But there's a lot of people out there that have a really hard time when people like have like this person here. This person, you got to understand what they're talking about is like paralyzing fear of someone not liking them or agreeing with them or seeing things with their perspective, which is a very hard way to go through life because that's not reality, dude. And so, and dude, I'm one of those people. Like I'm a person where as much as like you guys think, oh, it's fuck everybody. I had to develop that part of me. Like that's what I had to develop. My natural inclination when I was a young person, before I developed the boundaries and the understanding of when to fuck off with someone or when to listen, right, my natural inclination was to always have my feelings hurt when people fucking didn't see eye to eye with me. I took it very personal. And that comes from me not being secure with who I am. And so I can empathize with someone who struggles with this, because when I was younger, in my teenage years especially, I really struggled with this. And I think a lot of people struggle with this. But I think the key to getting through it and growing is to understand that conflict, you have to, you do the best you can. When you make mistakes, be humble enough to say, okay, I can fix that. Regardless if you make it right with the other person or not, because sometimes people won't allow you to make it right. All right. So you got to take the lessons that you learn, you make them right, you improve as a person, and you grow. And along the way, there's, especially in business, you're going to have situations where you do everything right, and the person's still going to hate you for some whatever fucking reason, bro.
Yeah.
And sometimes those people come around years later and they say, well, dude, I was wrong or whatever. So the only thing that we can really worry about is like ourselves, what we learn from the conflict, how we can actually get better. And I think it's a good idea to try and make it right with people when you have these conflicts, depending on what kind of conflict it is. Because there is a time where, someone is clearly the fuck out of line, and you got to hold a fucking standard. And if you don't hold a standard at that point, people will walk all over you. So that's a huge reality as well. A lot of people get walked all over because they're so afraid of conflict that they won't set up any kind of boundary whatsoever. So like, you have to be the judge of this scenario. Like, you've got to tell yourself the truth. This is why being a realist is so important. Like, because sometimes, especially the bigger you get in business, people are going to criticize you for shit that ain't even fucking true. Okay. And like, dude, when you're someone who's trying, and by the way, this all conflicts into like this big mess, because the reason that you got big in the first place is because you give a fuck about people. Okay. So you care a lot. That's why you're successful. Then you get to a point where you get so big that people start trying to poke holes in your shit just because you're shining in a way that they may not like. All right. So you've got to figure out, like, is this person actually have a legitimate gripe? Is this something I could do better? Is this my fault, or are they out of line?
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? And so like, dude, there's truth to all of that. And I think the best thing that someone can do is really train themselves to see the reality of the situation and remove themselves from their own perspective in it, and try to put yourself over in this perspective as well, right? Like, walking a mile in someone else's shoes is a pretty good idea when you have a conflict with them.
Yeah.
You see what I'm saying? A lot of people forget that shit because they're so mad and they're so angry. But being able to look at it, so like what I try to do, dude, in these situations, like if I find myself in a situation, which happens quite often when you're running a fucking bunch of shit, you know, and
they're waiting on you. The conflicts are waiting on you.
Yeah, like it's normal shit. And but like, dude, I used to be like this person where I would like paralyze me, right? And so like I've grown a lot in that regard to where now I'm like, okay, well, what is it? What's going on? Okay, is that true? No, it's not true. Okay, well, this person's just doesn't understand. Try to talk to them. If they're like, fuck you, well, there's nothing I can do about that.
Right.
All I can do is do my best, my real best, not fucking bullshit best.
Yeah.
There's a difference. But what I try to do, in a little hack that I think is valuable for all of you guys, is to like look at the situation as if you're observing two other people. So like if you can like see the conflict that you're currently in, and you can like observe it as if it's two different people, that it's not you and it's not them, but it's these two other people, and you kind of observe this thing, it gives you a good perspective of what the truth actually is. Yeah. Right. So, that's a hack I've used. And I also use that hack, by the way, when I got to make hard decisions. Like when I have to make difficult decisions, dude, I don't think of it like it's me. I think of it like I work for this guy named Andy, who's over there, who has all these goals, all these obligations, all these dreams. And I have to make a decision that's in the best interest of over here. Okay. Whether it's hard or not hard, I have to do what the fucking right thing. And so like when I have to make hard decisions or have conversations that aren't fun to have, I try to remember like, okay, I work for this other dude over here. Yeah. I got to do a fucking job.
That's powerful shit right there.
So there's some free game for you guys.
Yeah, no shit.
It's very helpful.
Yeah. Andy, question number 2. Andy, I am a musician, a rapper specifically. I put a lot of effort and energy into making the best quality music and content I can with the resources I currently have. Even still, In the past, when I would drop content, I would be discouraged by the results or lack thereof.
Yeah.
By listening to you, I've learned to understand that the journey to success is a long road and consistency and persistence is key. But I'm curious, what would you say to yourself to keep showing up every single day when you went through a similar period in your early days of business? This is something I know a lot of creatives struggle with, so I would like to know your input. What do you tell yourself to keep you going through the days?
It's not what I tell myself. It's what I ask myself. What's my life going to be like if I quit? That's what I ask myself. What's my life going to look like if I quit?
To this day.
To this day, that's how I ask myself. I ask myself the same thing today. Okay, like, dude, real talk. You think I want to come back in on fucking Monday morning after being in Mexico for a fucking week?
No. Yeah.
Well, I'm just saying, like, you're walking. I already know what I'm walking into, which is a whole. Because, like, look, dude, my job is to solve the fucking problems. All right.
Yep, because you're not there.
By the way, I don't solve the little problems. Those all get solved by our amazing people here. Right.
Right.
So by the time it comes to me, guess what kind of problem it is? It's a fucking stressful problem.
It's a train derailment.
Right. Yeah, that's right.
Too soon.
Yeah, it didn't exist. You know, our fucking president rather go over to Ukraine.
That's the other episode. Sorry, guys.
That's unacceptable, by the way.
It is. It is.
But I got a lot to say about that motherfucking. That's bullshit.
Oh yeah.
But look, dude, you know, I know what I'm walking into, and I know I'm getting the fucking hammer, bro, because that's what my job is to get the fucking hammer. And you know, so I was nervous and I had a little anxiety. I'm like, oh fuck, this is weird, you know. But the truth is like, you know, I'm like, fuck, dude, I could stay home. Right? I could have not went. I could have said, hey, I'm not going in. Like, I don't have to fucking come here. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And I fucking was sitting there and I'm like, well, if I don't go today, that means I'm less likely to go next week when we have another meeting. That means the week after that, I'm going to blow that off. I'd rather not start this. We got a lot to do. I got a lot of responsibility. What's going to happen if I let this go? Right? And guess what I did? Got the fuck up, got in the shower, and got my fucking ass here, and I gave the meeting.
Yeah. Yeah.
You know, so like I try to tie in, if I were you, and this is what has always worked for me, you know, I don't evaluate the risk of doing. I evaluate the risk of not doing. And so, you know, when you're struggling and when you're young and you're not getting the attention, like, dude, it's hard. It's hard. Like, especially like for young people now, because the internet's been around for a minute. Like and this is just true shit. And I don't care what anybody says. People can fucking argue this all day. But like, it was much easier to gain a following in the earlier days of the internet, right? Now you have everybody sort of, the game has been discovered. And like, it's still early and I think it will evolve, like I said in the last question. But I mean, there's so many fucking people doing the shit on the internet at a functional level that it's hard to stand out. Back in the beginning, you could be, there was more diversity in content too. Now I see everybody doing the exact same shit. Like, bro, like I see all these motherfuckers doing these videos now where they're sitting in front of a microphone like they're on a fucking podcast when they're not even having a fucking podcast.
They just have microphones.
Yeah, bro. Like, look, dude, that there's not a hack to this.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Like, this is years and years and years of anything. Just like whatever it is they're good at. You understand what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So like, we have to understand that like content creation and getting a following and all that shit it's much harder now than it was then. And so it's easier for people who are like in this person's situation to feel fucking demoralized because it takes, you know, time to do this. And you see all these other people who are probably not even as good as you are at what you do, getting far more credit and appraise. And I think the thing to remember here is that this is a game of longevity. This is a game of continuing to push, continuing to grow. The journey that you're on is going to produce the ultimate version of you, which is what you're after anyway. Because the skills that you have right now are only going to get better. They're only going to be honed more. They're only going to develop more the more you keep trying. And like, dude, here's the truth too. As many people that are fucking doing this, most people still won't even make content because they're fucking afraid of what the boogeyman might have to say about them. Right? Yep. So like, dude, the fact that you're in the fucking game, even after all this time and you feel like demoralized, you're still incredibly ahead of everybody else, bro. That's a big fucking deal. And so, you know, I see this all the time. And I see, you know, what's one cool way to think about it too is like, dude, TikTok's a great way to build a following. Like, I don't do TikTok personally because I kind of let everybody else just share out my shit. And I'm not interested in doing another social media platform. But the amount of growth that you can see on TikTok because the fucking algorithm is pretty open, you could build a massive following pretty quick there. However, you know, you have to deal with with it being a Chinese spyware, which is what the fuck it is. And like, there's other negatives to it too. And that's another reason why I don't fucking do it. But like, you know, comparing yourself to people who've been doing shit for a long time is always demoralizing, bro. Like, I can remember back when I was, you know, in 2000, I can remember that, dude, this is a real story. I remember back in 2009, 2010, I had this idea that I went and spoke to this big company about that was a big company at the time. And I showed them my idea. I said, this is how the industry lays. This is what you guys could do to change it. And we'd like to be a little part of it. You know, we didn't have the money or the capacity or the resources to like do this. So I brought this idea to this company and they fucking laughed us out the room, bro. They laughed us out the room. You know what he said? He said, well, if you think that's such a good idea, you should go do it yourself. Guess what the fuck I did? And now I'm here. See what I'm saying? But that shit hurt. And that shit fucking made me sad. And it made me feel like a fucking loser. And so like a lot of the things that you're going through right now, feeling demoralized and feeling like you're disrespected, those things will actually carry you to success.
It's part of the game.
Fuck yeah, bro. You think I don't have a massive chip on my shoulder, even though I've proved those motherfuckers wrong? You don't think I fucking love the fact that if I went and talked to the person who said that, I say, hey, bro, remember when you said this and this and this? And he'd be like, fuck, yeah, I know that was fuck. You went out and did it. You know, like I think about that. Like, you know, it sounds fucked up, but it's truth. Like, and dude, all these disrespectful things and all these slights and all these things, those things will come together if you allow them to, as a really great source of fuel for you to continue to push down the road, which I think is necessary. You know, absolutely. I think negative energy is the most powerful energy that you could if you can absorb it, if you can control it and convert it into something positive, it's the most powerful energy. It's way more powerful than positive energy. It'll drive you to work much harder. And dude, you can talk about metaphysical, quantum physical, spiritual beliefs, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. But at the end of the day, bro, you got to put motherfucking rubber to the road, which means you got to fucking work. Okay. In the real world, out here in real life, you got to fucking work. Not here.
Right.
And it's a massive compliment to this person that they are even moving that direction, in my opinion. And, you know, I think there's so much to be said for the people who just fucking try, dude. Like, so many people, like, think of all the great inventions, think of all the great businesses, think of all the great solutions, think of all the greatness, period, that is left on the fucking table because people are fucking afraid of what's going to happen to them on social media. Or they're afraid to be called a name, or they're afraid to be made fun of, or they're afraid to be canceled. This is one of the biggest fucking dangers of cancel culture. This is why you shouldn't participate in it, even when it's fucking, you know, not your side or the other side. Like, it's not a good thing in society. It should be reserved. Cancel culture should be reserved for the harshest things. You know, part of the reason the harshest things are being allowed to happen now, like such as the sexualization of children, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera, pedophilia being normalized, which is really happening globally. The reason that's allowed to happen is because there's a space being made for it, because when people cancel fucking Joe Blow for doing whatever Joe Blow does, it's the same thing as like, when everything is a certain way, then nothing is a certain way. So like, if everything is cancelable, then when you try to cancel fucking Balenciaga for what they did, it doesn't fucking work.
It's boy cries wolf.
Yeah. And so like, as society, one of the changes that I think we need to make is we need to be a bit more selective about where the fuck we take that power. But because of that power and because it's misused And because it's become a societal norm, and it is a weapon, it's a fucking social weapon. It's meant to divide. This cancel culture was propagated and inserted into our society intentionally. Okay. And the reason is so that we all fucking argue. And so we're all afraid, and we're afraid to speak up. We're afraid to say shit, right? But here's a side effect of it that no one really talks about. It's like young people like this, like that's what I'm saying. This person deserves a lot of credit, but it's people who have greatness inside of them that are afraid to get off the fucking bench because of the abnormal situation of cancel culture in society. See what I'm saying?
Yeah, absolutely.
Like we're missing out on a lot of fucking greatness because
culminated with the idea that it's supposed to be quick and easy to do.
Well, yeah, that's a whole nother discussion.
Yeah, man.
But like, I'm a huge anti-cancel culture type person. And, I think we as a society need to do a better job of like giving people grace when they make a mistake or when something, when they fuck up or whatever, right? And being able to delineate if it's just a 1 or a 2 time mistake or something, or if they're an evil person. I think cancel culture should be completely fucking redirected and utilized for evil things.
Mm-hmm.
We have fucking communism happening in this country. That's a big fucking problem.
Don't see no cancel culture there.
That's what I'm saying, bro. That's because they're the motherfuckers that inserted the cancel culture.
Well, and they censor the ones that, That's another episode, guys.
Well, people need to know it.
Anyway,
the point is,
that's real shit though.
Well, the point is just keep going, dude.
Yeah.
And ask yourself, what's my life really going to be like if I don't do this? Because here's the story I tell myself what my life's going to be like. And at this point, it's no longer true because I have so many skills. Like people pay me to fucking teach them skill sets, right? So like I got job security for fucking ever.
Mm-hmm.
All right. But what I tell myself is like when I was telling myself about getting out of bed and coming up and, facing my responsibilities is, bro, if you don't, you're going to be digging ditches. Because when I started this company, if it didn't work, that's what I would have been doing. And so I imagine myself having to get up at fucking 4 o'clock in the morning, put on my work shit and go fucking work. Like real work, not fucking this bullshit work that we all call work. You know what I'm saying?
Callous work.
And even though it's not a true story anymore, I still tell myself because that's what the fuck works for me. You know what I'm saying? So you got to find something that is probably true. Like for you, it might be you'd be working at McDonald's, cooking French fries and shit. No disrespect to those people that work at McDonald's, but McDonald's probably for most people isn't a career job.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I'm saying?
Or a choice, really.
Yeah. So like, we gotta tell ourselves the right story to get us fucking moving. And the story I told myself is if I don't keep going, bro, I'm gonna dig ditches. And what I'm describing now in terms of what we're talking about is what I call zero options mentality. Because it's easy to have zero options mentality when you actually have zero options.
Right.
Like when you're in the beginning, you're where this person is and shit, like you don't have an option. Like, fuck, dude, it's easy to believe it, right? It's easy to believe. Like it was easy to believe in my first year of business that if I fucking fail, I'd be digging ditches.
Yeah.
As easy to fucking believe. Because guess what? It was true.
Yeah, right.
All right.
You really would have been.
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah.
So today, here I am 24 years later, right? I've done pretty well in business by all accords and all standards. All right. I got a long way to go. I got a lot to do, but I'm been doing okay. I have to kind of lie to myself. You know what I'm saying? I have to say, bro, if you don't fucking get your fucking ass out of bed, bro. And now it's not just you're going to be digging ditches, but all the motherfuckers that depend on you, they're going to be digging ditches too.
Which I think that's even scarier.
Fuck yeah, it is.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's what people don't get, dude.
That's a whole different type of pressure, bro.
It is. And it never stops. And it's real. It's if you're not a piece of shit, it's real.
Right.
Guys,
the third and final question, Andy. Question number 3. Let's close it out. Andy, in a recent CTI episode, you spoke about giving, especially when you don't have much to give, and the power that it creates in the universe when you do it. I've also heard you mention not helping people when they just ask for it, because hard times is what forges toughness and teaches lessons. Can you expand more on these views on when or what circumstances should align to truly give or help someone?
Man, that's such a good question. I don't even know how to answer that, to be honest, because it's. I think it's a nuanced question. I think there's a time and place for both. I think that you have to learn to see the truth of the situation. Is this a situation where this person genuinely needs help? And are they someone who deserves help? Do they live a good life? Are they a good person? Because everybody needs a hand sometimes. That's reality, bro. I've had a little help. Everybody's had a little help along the way. Okay. In different ways. I'm not talking about money. I'm talking about in just different ways, all kinds of ways. Sometimes it's important to be that help for people. So I think it's important to evaluate each situation on a case-by-case scenario. And when it's an honest thing, I think, you should do the good thing. I think there's other scenarios that where you may have and most of the time in these scenarios, I think it's, you have a somewhat of a relationship with someone, meaning you know them and you know a little bit about them, and they get themselves in a fucking pickle. And you have to sort of look at the context of their behavior over the course of time to understand, is this pickle there? Is this going to hurt them or damage them? Or is this something that they need to be hurt and damaged by so that they don't do a bigger mistake later? And so some thought needs to go into these things on an individual basis. And I think it's, it definitely is a conflicting viewpoint a little bit.
Yeah.
But I think it's because there's nuance, and I think there's no blanket answer.
There's not just a catch-all.
No, I don't think so. Yeah. I mean, I think.
No, that makes sense.
Yeah, I can think of scenarios many different ways where that advice would not be the truth, right? I think that's a great fucking question. I wish you guys would ask more questions like that. Like, that's a good fucking question. It actually makes me fucking think. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Like, I have to really fucking think about that, because I think the way I do it is like I'm describing, like I'm just trying to reflect back in my head, like how I do it. And I think it's, the times I haven't helped people because I thought they needed to learn the lesson, that also came from a place of love. It didn't come from a place of like,
I'm going to teach you this.
No. And that's it. Like, I'm trying to operate with the best intention for the scenario. And sometimes, dude, and I've learned this, like I've made this mistake before where I've helped people and it kept them from learning a lesson that was important for them to learn. And then they ended up making that same mistake, only way bigger later down the road. And like, it fucking buried them.
Or and you got the end of the karmic stick.
Well, yeah, bro. Or, yeah, right. And that's a whole nother thing. Yeah. It's like, dude, Malik fucking taught me this. This is a powerful thing that Malik taught me, was that sometimes you can't step in front of karma, because when you step in front of the karma, you're the one that gets delivered the fucking blow.
This guy goes somewhere.
Right. Yeah. And so and I believe there's some to that too, and that's why I say you have to look at the context, right? Like, dude, it's hard. It's a hard, but dude, doing the right thing isn't easy. You have to put some fucking thought into it.
For sure.
I think the intent matters a lot. I think when you can help someone and you choose not to, you have to understand that it's probably not going to be seen from their point of view as loving, right? Like, this is part of like probably a lot of parents relate to this shit, right? But down the road, hopefully they understand. But sometimes, they don't.
Yeah.
And I think it's important that you make the right decision so that you can live with a clear conscience about how you handle these situations. Because even if you try, like, bro, I try really fucking hard to do what's right by every single person that comes across my face. And even trying as hard as I can, there's still going to be people that don't value that or don't see it that way or
appreciate it.
Yeah. And that's the reality of life. And so I think we all have to understand that not everybody's in the same place or the same vibe or the same fucking plane that you're on at this time. And so that's why I think it's important for you to do the thing that you're going to feel best about, to understand. And dude, and not the weak thing either, because the weak thing is to always help everybody. But what ends up happening is you end up handicapping a lot of fucking people by being that way.
Yeah.
And that's that's something that took me until I was probably 38, 39, maybe 40 years old to truly understand, because I didn't grow up like in a situation where I help a lot of people. Right. But when I started to do well in business, that changed. And like, you start doing so well that you can solve people's problems, and it's very little rub on your end. Like, it doesn't hurt to you're not missing the fucking money.
Yeah. This massive pain point over here can be fixed.
Yes. Yeah. So like, it's like this very weird thing to like reconcile. It doesn't fucking hurt you. It's easy for you, right? And it solves this person's bad problem.
Immediately. Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
And so, but the problem is like, dude, people will sniff that the fuck out, and then they become the people who take advantage of you very quickly.
They'll try to get more of those situations.
Yeah, bro.
Yeah.
And so like, dude, you gotta know where those boundaries are. And it's a tough place. And it's not, this real talk. This is why most wealthy, successful people that do not allow people access to them.
Mm-hmm.
This is why
they're very well insulated.
Yes.
Yeah.
This is why famous people act the way they act. This is why they're cold. It's not because they think less of you. Well, some of them probably do because they're assholes, but a lot of these people are just trying not to get fucking their heartstrings pulled and taken advantage of because it happens so regularly.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
And this is like, what they try to tell these dudes in the NFL. They try to tell them this shit, to protect themselves, insulate themselves, and they don't fucking listen. And what ends up happening is they end up on a 30 for 30 episode because they gave all their money away to their homies because they were trying to help them when their homies stopped giving a fuck how much money they took. Because, dude, to those dudes, you got a money tree in your backyard that you could just go in the back and pull shit off of.
Yep.
And like, they don't think about all the time that this dude, whether it be business or athletics, from the time they were young, putting in all those hours that they didn't get paid for, years and years and years of work, people just don't care.
Yeah.
And they stop caring real quick when you give them money.
More importantly, they stop caring when you stop.
Oh, well, that's the other thing is like people will, you can't get out of that cycle once it starts, yeah.
It's definitely a weird thing. I had an uncle tell me, he was like, well, if you could do it without me, then I'm not going to do it for you. Like if I wasn't here and you could still solve that problem, you're going to solve that problem.
Well, I think that's a good way to
like
be.
a nice little rule of thumb, I guess. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, that's definitely great. I think that's pretty solid advice, bro.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
And that's probably the best advice that we gave on the whole show right there. I'm just saying.
Yeah.
That's just a tough scenario. And
it is, man.
And the more success you have and the more success people recognize that you have, the harder that gets.
Yeah. That's real, man.
But as hard as it is, it's still better than the problems that you have when you don't have shit.
You got shit. That's real, bro. That's real shit, man. Well, guys, Andy, that was 3.
Yeah.
Go pay the feet.
Yep. Don't be a hoe.
Share the show.